Welcome back to Echoes and Edges, the Broken and Beautiful podcast. The Broken and Beautiful is a collective of healers on the hunt for beauty, meaning, and transformation. I'm Patria, your host for Echoes and Edges, and I'm so glad you're here today. Today, we're going to interview Carla, one of our spiritual directors at the Broken and Beautiful. And I am just so delighted you're here, Carla. We're going to talk about we're actually starting a new series called The Cost of Connecting to Yourself. It'll be a two-part series, and today is the first of those. We're going to be talking about identity and how connecting to ourselves actually impacts our experience of ourself. And so, welcome, Carla. And
Hi.
thank you for joining. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and fill us in on who you are besides a spiritual director and part of our collective.
Today, I just left my grandbabies, so I'm a grandma. That's one of my favorite identities, is being a grandma. That's fun. I have 5 children. They're all raised and out of the house. Who else am I? I'm a poet. I write. I love to write. I love to spend time outside, be in nature. The ocean is a favorite. It's been way too long since I visited the ocean, so I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
forward to getting back there. I'm married. Um, been married for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What else
Hmm.
am I? I'm a lot of things.
Well, because we talk a lot about the Enneagram, do you want to
Oh yeah.
share your Enneagram
Yeah.
type and what
I'm
you lead with? Yeah.
Yeah, I bet some people could already guess, but I'm an
Mm.
Enneagram 4 because I like
Mm-hmm.
nature and creativity and writing and poetry and romance. So, yeah,
Kind of that quintessential four. Or you kind of knew right away, didn't you?
yeah, it wasn't hard for me to
Yeah.
figure out. I was a 4.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah. That fit really well for you.
it did. It did.
Uh-huh. If you've listened to the Enneagram podcast that I recently did, the series on the gut, heart, and head types, Carla is one of the four voices that you hear answering. And it was really interesting to hear the fours because you all had really similar answers.
Yeah.
Um, Even though obviously I know each of you and you're very different people, so that was cool. I thought that was really a cool reflection, a good reflection of type fours. So thank you
Yeah.
for that and welcome back. So we're going to dive into this conversation about identity and so one of the things that we have learned in our work that we do as coaches, you as a spiritual director, I work with transformation, and that can, and we both do, we just have a little bit different tools in our toolbox, but ultimately we're, we're all working toward many of the same objectives, and that's wholeness, health, a sense of connection to ourselves and to others and to God. And so sometimes especially when there's trauma in our background, there's a cost to actually coming back to ourselves, to kind of coming home to our own identity. And so that's what we're going to talk about approximately today. We have some questions to answer. And like always, it's not scripted. So you're going to get to hear in real time how this turns out. But Carla and I are colleagues and friends and have talked in depth before. So I'm confident it'll be good. So let's just dive in, Carla.
Sounds good.
So, when someone begins to reconnect with themselves, how does identity start to shift in your mind? And what does that awakening look like in real time in your experience?
So I think based on my own experience and then working with others that are figuring that out, it can be very disruptful. It's a
Mm-hmm.
disrupting time a time of awakening also, but sometimes awakening is not simple or easy.
Hmm. I find that to be really true too. And in fact, I think it's surprising for a lot of us, at least for me, it was surprising to discover that it didn't feel good.
Yes.
It was hard. And
Yeah.
that's what I think you mean by disruptive.
Yeah. Just
Yeah, maybe you could say more about what does that mean?
it's sort of like you've been walking around your most of your life thinking, feeling, behaving in a certain way, and somebody like put you in a different script, and you start to wonder like what is going on here. Like, yeah, well, I've been doing this all along. I thought this was the path, and now there's another path maybe. So it's just a lot of questioning, I think, of
Hmm.
like what is this? That feels
Yeah.
disruptful.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that comes to my mind is that when something about me and the way that I'm walking my path, my life, when something about that changes in me, it causes disruption for other people too that are close to me. And sometimes that is less than fun.
Right. Right. Yep, many people will say, wait a minute, like we've been doing it this way for a long, long time. What's going on here? How could you
Yep.
even question something different? Things were
Yeah.
going great for me. So often, yeah, yeah.
I think you just hit on something really important. So let's just hover over that for a minute. That, when we really connect to ourselves, there might be things that come up that ways that we've been in relationships, especially with our intimate people, that are no longer okay for us. It doesn't feel good anymore. Maybe we've been over accommodating, or maybe we haven't been fully honest, or maybe we just haven't been able to express ourselves out of fear, and there's probably a million things we could suggest right there. But when that changes, the other person can be really confused and feel out of sorts in the relationship, and sometimes that can lead to, like you were talking about, disruption, but it can also lead to disconnection. So I'm actually going to drop back in on that first question and bring a little bit of a different way of asking it in here, and let's see if it brings up anything else that we'd want to add in. Okay.
Hmm.
So once someone has let go of roles, expectations, or relationships that no longer fit, what does that in between space feel like before anything new has taken shape?
Hmm. What a good question. The in between time.
Yeah.
In my mind, it feels dark. Like
Mm.
just there's like knowing your way around dark, like trying to find what feels okay, what doesn't feel
Mm-hmm.
okay, just an unknowing. I think it can be a really
Mm-hmm.
lonely time for people just because of
For
that
sure.
disconnection that happens there. Like a lot of self-doubt happens right there
Mm-hmm.
just because I've been going all my life knowing this about myself, and now I don't know this about me anymore, and then I don't know what's true maybe yet. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think of the word disorientation
Yes.
with dark and not knowing what's true. And that really can come with this first, that can really come as a cost to connecting to
Yeah.
myself. Yeah. And I appreciate that you said loneliness, because loneliness is something that is often difficult to experience. Like oftentimes introverts, like I am, appreciate aloneness, but that's different than loneliness. And if you've kind of been spending your life trying to avoid some of those, disorientation, loneliness, fear, it can really create havoc and cause disruption even in the growth, like we were talking about earlier. So what might tempt people then to go back to something that harmed them before, or a relationship that wasn't good for them? How have you seen that play out? Like, yeah, how have you seen that play out?
I think in that space of not knowing and not trusting oneself in that
Mm-hmm.
space, that safety of what's comfortable, what's been known all on the familiar. Yeah, I see that a lot. Like, but this is how it's always been, and this is what I've always thought. And so now I'm feeling disoriented when at least over here I knew the expectation and what to think or what I've been told. So just that safety
Yeah,
part.
and there's security in that,
Security.
isn't
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So disorientation, insecurity. And so that empty space can feel like failure, even.
Yeah.
And that's, so it doesn't always feel good. In fact, it often doesn't feel
Right.
good. I don't know of anybody that's initially truly connecting to themselves that doesn't feel surprised at the
Yeah.
discomfort. And so it can feel like a failure when really it's just coming into like a clearing
Mhm.
where we're used to having to fight and survive and create some sort of connecting point that it could even be like a dramatic stirring of problems sometimes, just to try to get a connecting point within the, like, trying to create repair somehow or just connection somehow. And so that space can feel like failure, but if we can just hold through it, and this is one reason it's really helpful to have a coach or a spiritual director or a therapist that can help us through these moments. Because if we can just hold through that, then it opens up space for something more honest and something more true and real. Would you agree with that or add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just, as you were talking, thinking that like I needed so much reminding that that space was okay. That it was okay to
Mm-hmm.
not know everything, that it was an all right space. So, yeah, to have somebody there
Mm-hmm.
helping us remember that it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, especially for Enneagram fours and for nines like me. So I'm a 9 year four,
Yeah.
right? It took me a lot longer to know than you what your number is. But for both of us and for different reasons, abandonment and aloneness, loneliness are really big pain. They hurt. It hurts our hearts. And so for me, I would call it disconnection. And for you, it's probably more like a feeling of abandonment. And so that does actually have to do with connecting to truer parts of ourselves, or like, actually, that's not the right way to say that. It has to do with connecting with more of who we are and more truly who we are. And we start really experiencing that primal wounding, let alone trauma. I'm not talking about trauma, but just that the world is not safe and secure all the
Yeah.
time. And so, an Enneagram 4 and an Enneagram 9 in our own particular ways experience that in really profoundly painful ways. And so our whole life is spent going against
Right.
that. We don't want to feel those feelings. Yeah. And so it is helpful to have a guide who can help us through that.
Yeah.
As someone reconnects with themselves, Carla, how does the way they show up in relationships begin to change?
You hear the scenario of the dance a lot, so I think of that like
Mm,
you start to
hmm
change how you're dancing when you've been operating a certain way for so long. So yeah, starting to dip your toes into like, I don't know if I want to be this way anymore, or I don't know how I'm feeling about, I mean, even just I think of being married, and I don't know if I want to cook anymore. I don't know if I want to do the housework
Yeah.
this way anymore. For me, there's a lot, I see a lot of, like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this, and maybe I want to try this, and it's a lot of that back and forth that hadn't been there before, which, yeah,
Mm.
causes more disruption, right? So, yeah,
Right. That's right.
yeah,
There, we might have more
yeah.
boundaries or say no to things that we used to say yes to. And absolutely that's so true. And so relationships, it's like the nicer way to say this is probably that relationships have new opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, that's right.
Yeah, and sometimes relationships don't make
Right.
it through this
Yeah.
transition. That happens a lot. And the ones of us that have made it through this transition, though, tend to be, I don't know, at least in my experience, you'd have to answer for yourself, but I would say in my experience with my spouse, we're more comfortable with each other on this side of it than we ever have been before. It's more secure actually on this side of it, but it was a time of a lot of insecurity for us as a couple.
I think like a lot of our relationship, like we get used to how somebody shows up. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's how we build things
Hmm.
around that. So, and it's not just
Yeah.
marriage, it's, friendships and, in your church, how you're showing up
Church.
there. Like when you say, I don't think I want to do this, and people are like, what? You've been doing that for 30
Yeah.
years. Like, yep. And I'm changing
Yeah.
my mind. And they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know that you get to change your mind, because it's built around how I've always shown up and behaved in these places. So yeah, some of those
Yeah.
don't make it because they can't handle the
Yep.
shift.
Yeah, exactly. They being the relationships itself can't handle the dynamic shift there. And sometimes it just gets like whirling dervishes going in different directions and it just doesn't work out there. Yeah, that's so true. And I really like the way you said that we build things around
Mm,
it. That's right. We build a life around a certain way of being, and when that way of being changes, the life
yeah,
changes. And it's a big deal. It's not a small thing. That's a big
yeah,
cost. Yeah. And benefit, but today we're talking
yeah.
about the cost. So, are there early signs that a relationship can or can't hold who they're becoming, who a person's becoming? Do you think?
Hmm.
Like if like we have early, younger people listening, or just somebody that's lost a spouse or newly married later in life, or they're just God forbid, sorry, heaven forbid they have to be out in the big wide world of dating right now, but lots of people are there. What are some of the signs that suggest a person isn't going to be able to handle a lot of change? What do you think about that? I
Yeah.
know. I have to sit here for a
Yeah,
second
me
and think about
too.
that too.
I One thing that's popping in my head, I'm thinking like there should be some fluidity in most of our relationships because we're always changing. We're human, we're growing, we're moving, we're constantly redefining things every day. So like any relationship that won't allow space for fluidity of whatever kind, like that would be a telling sign to me that maybe this isn't going to happen. Kind of managing,
Mm-hmm.
controlling type
Hmm.
spaces that aren't secure enough to handle somebody trying things on, taking them off, figuring it out how I feel today. So that's my
Yeah, yeah.
primary thought there.
Yeah, I think about the opposite of fluidity and dynamic, so dynamic and fluidity are just that ever changing, right? And so the opposite of that to me feels like rigidity, or you said the word controlling, which I think is a perfect description of that, or management, especially micromanagement. And it makes me think of a question that I didn't have pre curated, but how do we know? How do we know that? How do we know we're being controlled or micromanaged? What's your experience with that? How do you recognize it?
Um, at this point in my life, it's embodied in me. It's a body experience. My intuition is a big part for me, listening to myself. It's difficult to say how exactly that comes out to play. I'm trying to think of a really
Yeah,
good
yeah.
way of stating that. Um,
It's just something that you
yes,
intuitively know,
and
it sounds
it's.
like. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us do. I think we're trained not to listen to that place. So yeah, once we
Mm-hmm.
start listening to ourselves, I think most of us have some type of response physically or in our guts, that
Mm-hmm.
a good
Mm-hmm.
space that tells us like there's no room here.
It's taken me a long time to recognize that because I adapt so fast. I'm just a really, really fast adapter. I also use intuition and through my gut though, and I adapt really, really quickly. And so thinking again back to honesty in relationships, that's not honest either, in a relationship. And so as I, come as we come into these new ways of being, and maybe when we've been controlled before, I've just adapted, and not even recognized I'm not okay with it. And now I wake up and I'm like, I connect more to myself and I'm like, I don't know if I'm okay with this anymore, or I'm not okay with this anymore. And so then I start setting boundaries and I start having different limits around, what's okay with me and it might look like whether I'm going to cook every night, or it might look like, am I going to sleep with your snoring next to me the rest of my life? Who knows? It might look like, can I stay married? Or can I stay in relationship with you? Or it might look like, how do I need to, just make sure that I have enough room within the relationship? So, what makes these conversations, so hard, Carla? What makes us? Because we're
Yeah,
both kind
I'm
of feel,
feeling
at
it.
least I am
It
kind of
is.
like it's
It's
hard.
really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes it hard? Like, let's talk that out a little bit.
I think we may have talked about it just for a second already.
Mm, mm,
So let's just use the word belonging. So like
mm.
you called them
Yeah.
primal needs. I'm
Hmm.
looking for to be seen, to have belonging, to
Right.
be in relationship with people, to be loved, to be heard, all
Hmm.
the needs
Hmm.
that we all have as humans. And so sometimes that's part of it. Like we have been doing certain things in our life and behaving in ways that we feel like are getting us what we need in line with that. And then when that starts to come up against, you know, listening to myself, and so that's often the first part. I'm afraid. I'm afraid, I am going to lose this relationship and I've invested, most of my life into, or I'm afraid something's going to come against me here, or I'm back to the beginning. I'm still a little unsure about what this could look like or what I want. I haven't had enough practice saying that, stating it, understanding it within myself. So there's just so many tentacles there. like, yeah,
Yeah, totally. I was thinking about this, like scrambling.
yeah.
There's so much scrambling that happens right there that it's so hard to make sense of it, let alone initiate like movement, to take action forward in creating something new and different and more honest. It's just so in the loneliness, disorientation, the scramble of all coming into contact with all those things that we've been trying to avoid our whole lives, at least a little bit at a time, sometimes a lot at a time. I think it can be really hard to even know what to say, be fearful about what's going to happen if I do say, yeah, yeah.
I was
Hmm.
thinking, even knowing how I feel, like sometimes we've
Yeah.
gone our whole life not paying any attention. So that that's enough work just figuring that out and then trying to tell somebody else when
Yeah.
I can't even figure out words for myself. It's really hard. Can be. Yeah.
I know. It's so hard. Well, and so I want to share just a short story of my husband and I went to Maine a couple weeks ago to visit his dad. And I have learned that travel is always a good opportunity for growth.
Yep.
And and there's pretty good direct flights through Chicago, and then and amazingly all of our flights were on time, but it was still late by the time we got in, to Portland, Maine is where we flew into. And I got really mad at my husband for something. I don't remember what it was, but never in the history of our relationship together have I said to him, I'm mad at you. And I recognized that I was doing some passive aggressive behaviors, like just huffing, or I was just feeling feelings. Speaking of feeling feelings, this is what made me think of it. I was feeling feelings, annoyed the heck out of me. I hate feeling my feelings. The first time I saw a feelings list, I wanted to throw up. It was so nauseating. So that's not my favorite thing to feel anyway. So here I am feeling feelings, and it's not just any feeling, it's anger, which is, of course, my primary problem. And so I actually said to myself, self, you need to tell him you're mad at him. So I did. And fortunately, he's done some work too. And so when I said, I'm really mad at you right now, he was able to say, instead of, getting mad back at me right away, or letting that anger run him, he was actually able to stay in his own identity and say to me, really? Tell me more about that. What are you mad about? So he's genuinely surprised. And so as I started to tell him whatever it was, like, I don't even remember what it was now that I was mad about, but I had obtusively asked for something without really asking for it. And I didn't realize it though until I acknowledged I was angry. He asked me about it. And then I was able to start expressing, I'm angry because. And then in that moment, I was able to realize that I hadn't actually asked for what I needed. I thought that I had. And so that's where the anger was coming from, is I thought I'd asked for what I needed. He was just being a jerk. And come to find out, that was the way I was telling the story in my head. And it's not that he can't be a jerk. We both can. But in this particular instance, that wasn't happening. And so we were able to really talk through that. And when I said what I needed, whatever that was, I don't know, food, probably food would be my guess. It was, we're on the plane with pretzels, so probably food. But anyway, he's like, yeah, no problem. Let's make sure, let's do that. And there was just a lot of presence on both of our part. That was a good moment. I'm happy to tell that story because that was a good moment. There's not a whole hundreds of those yet, but that was a good moment. But it does make me think about the feelings and how difficult it is. I mean, I'm I consider myself pretty present. I'm a pretty present person. I'm pretty, comfortable in my own skin most of the time. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm leading people. I have pretty good people skills most of the time. And I could not believe how hard it was to say, I am angry with you. And so I just want to put that down as an example or a picture of this is really hard work. Sometimes I think this is what Jesus meant when he talked about the narrow road. I'm like,
Right.
this is the narrow road. It's really hard. Yeah. So I don't know. That was a kind of a longer story than I meant to be, but do you have any thoughts or
No, I was
anything
just
you
thinking
would add or
though with that
reflect?
success, right? Like that is how that grows
Yeah.
too. Like, oh yeah, this turned out well. And they
Yeah.
don't all. Like other people, you said he's done his
That's
work.
right.
He could hold space for you to hear
Right.
that. Not everyone can,
Yep.
but it's
And
right.
not everyone
Yeah,
can all the
but it's
time.
still good.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think in that space that you figured that out for you. You were connecting to self,
Hmm.
and figuring that
Hmm.
out. So, yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
even if he hadn't.
hmm Yeah, exactly. It could have gone very badly. Yeah. Could have gone very badly. And so it could, right? That's what we're talking about here is the cost of connecting to ourselves is it's a crapshoot. We don't know which way it's going to go. It's very risky to put ourselves out there like that. So, yeah, so to that word belonging it turns out isn't about finding someone to
Right.
approve of us. It's about being met by ourselves
Yeah.
a lot of the time, and in not
Yeah.
pretending. Do you think does that feel
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're breathing deeply when I
Because,
say that.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I think we're always looking outside of ourselves. That's common, right? And then when we are waking up
Yep.
to our feelings and being true to myself
Mm-hmm.
that's part
Mm-hmm.
also of the confusion because generally most of us are taught not not to look at ourselves, especially in a church
Yep.
environment, yeah, we just died to our own feelings, our own longings, desires, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, to look and do that for us is also part of the disruption. So yeah, and that is, yeah,
And very
right?
disorienting.
Yeah.
At least for me. I mean, it does not
No.
go with the good girl mantra.
And we don't always get that right. Like, because we're practicing, we haven't had any practice.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Yes.
to allow ourselves the freedom to try some things on that we haven't and to, yeah, pay attention to us. It's a big deal. Yeah.
It's a big deal. Yeah. How can we course correct when we find ourselves taking a risky step forward, getting disoriented, feeling the disconnection, by either the look on the face in front of us or just the feeling in our gut? How can we course correct without shaming ourselves or, overreacting to what's happening in real time? So I've first of all, I've identified what I'm feeling. And so then and a boundary, I'm not okay with something. And then I take the risk of saying it to this person that matters to me. And then I get disoriented because it does not fit the script of good girl, right? Or whatever my script is, whatever my familiar script is. And then I might feel the fear of disconnection by the face in front of me or
Yeah.
my own just my own scramble. How can we course correct without shaming
Yeah.
ourselves or the other person?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this shame is could very well be present right there. Yes.
Totally.
For yeah, you
In fact,
just
I think we have to assume it,
and
right?
it's
We
just
have to assume
why
it in.
like for a lifetime of not listening to myself, for a lifetime of, you know, doing this, doing that, for taking a step into what I'm feeling now. I mean, there's a million ways I could see that contempt would come for us right there. So, yeah, just how to avoid that, how to course correct, how
Hmm.
to not
Or yeah, I
avoid.
don't
Yeah,
know that we can avoid
that's
it
not the best word.
necessarily. Yeah.
We don't want to avoid it. So I love avoiding. Yeah, right. We
Hmm.
do
Or
want to, but don't want
we
to.
do don't.
But
Yeah.
the what comes with that,
Hmm.
how to be kind, to be. I think there's a way to try to be gentle with our stories, all of it. Gentle with why we need to course correct to begin with. You know, like doing all of that, understanding what's what happened to me, like why am I here at this point in my life now, feeling different or more awake or disoriented or in all of those questions and like what happened and knowing that and
Yeah.
just I always say, you know, like kindness to my story, kindness to all the ways I have shown up
Mm.
to try to get what I needed, maybe that I wasn't getting. So I
Mm.
don't know if that's, yeah,
I love what you just said right there. I just say let's just hover over that for a second because that feels like a collision right there of shame over. I can really identify with that. Shame over ways that I have tried to get my needs met that I don't want to do anymore. You know, like for me, I don't want to be passive aggressive. I want to be clear, you know, kind, clear is kind. And yet being kind to ourselves in the growth and practice and learning process.
it is. So, I mean, we all bring different things into that place, but if it's a new awareness for us, right, it's like things just, we do a lot of things without knowing that we're doing them. Like you said, you know, like you understood that you needed to say, I have this feeling. You weren't understanding a few minutes before that maybe you were asking in a different way, but like when that comes to your consciousness and you know, and then a lot of times you can look back and see all the ways, you know, like, oh, this is what I've been doing. And, but to understand why, I always, that's the next, like, why was I doing that? And development, I consider it
Hmm.
development. If I didn't have a chance in my life to develop some of that, you know, then I'm just
Wow.
learning
Hmm.
and it's a practice. So, like, if I can keep reminding myself, I'm just practicing here. It's like learning an instrument or, I mean, any skill, right? Like, I, I can't expect to
Yep.
know exactly what I need to do all the time if I've not practiced this yet. So, I practice that kind of talk with myself a lot. I encourage that kind of talk with people when they're learning new skills that way because, yeah, if you just are coming into the awareness of your own desire or wanting to do something different, or then, yeah, you're going to have to practice that. It's a practice.
That's right. That's speaking of kindness, that's such a kindness. And I don't know for you, for me, it's so much easier to
Yes.
offer that to others than to myself, which
Yes.
is really what we're
Yeah.
talking about right here. And I have found in trauma work, in trauma informed care, that it feels like this is 100% a common feature among all trauma survivors is that there's an expectation to just know. And sometimes it looks like, perfectionism, or sometimes it looks like just no resilience around my own neediness, or resilience around learning my need to learn something. So when you said, if developmentally, which is a huge word around all of this, like obviously something was missing developmentally, relationship wise, and so we're actually cutting new path in our brain, in our circuitry. And so it does help to recognize that this isn't a you should have known. Like you couldn't. It's actually a you couldn't have known. You couldn't know this. And I think of the courage it takes too, to go that way when everything in us wants to go the
Yeah.
well-worn
It's
path.
natural to do the well-worn path till it's not, and
Mm-hmm.
then to know how
Yep,
to
exactly.
cut a new path. Like, right? Like, how am I gonna? Exactly. You don't.
Or
How
not
could
know
you?
how. It's more like
So, so
I don't
that
know.
leads to more like if you're cutting a
Yes.
path that's dusty and things are flying and like it's more disorientation. Like like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm
Exactly.
doing. Yes.
Like, what the heck, man? I had the opportunity once a few years ago to have Dan Allender engage my story a little bit, which I've probably told you before, Carla. Um, but there was a question that he asked me. I couldn't tell you what the question was, but I could tell you the image that came up when he asked me the question was of standing in a rainforest with no path in front of me. So I could see all this, completely grown together, this completely grown together forest. So it's just, it's just completely dense with stuff, no path. And I had a machete in my hand, but I had no idea what to do with it. Like, what is this thing here for? And this seems violent. That was my kind of like when I think back about through that time, it was kind of like that. And the interesting thing, and the reason I'm bringing this up right now, is because I have heard more people use that exact metaphor when you come into this new experience of unfamiliar, disorienting territory where it feels like you're standing in front of a rainforest with no path in front
Yep.
of you.
And when I speak of darkness, it's
Mm-hmm.
similar. Like that. It's yeah. It's a similar
Ah,
place of like I can't see a path. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. How would I know how to do this? I don't know. I don't know how to be me. I've gotten really good at being all these other things that I've picked up along the way. And I know enough to know a little bit about me now, though, so that's not fitting anymore. And I still don't know how to hold all of that yet.
totally. Like there are moments when the well-worn path is completely closed to us,
Yeah.
but the way forward is also closed. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're
Yep.
getting at today is that space. As a spiritual director, I'm just thinking, what do you want to, like, what would you ask right there? If you're sitting with your directee and you're hearing them say this to you, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I'm stuck. I can't go back. I can't go forward. As a spiritual director, what's a question or a thought that
Yeah.
that you might
So,
have? Hmm.
oh, I think in that place, a lot of times we end up and we do a little breathing some deep breathing. And I think when we shut our eyes a little and
Mm.
we
Mm-hmm.
orientate ourselves to that darkness or the overgrown jungle in front of us,
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mm.
it's so important to listen to yourself there. Like,
Mm.
I think we can be
Mm.
in tune with ourselves enough to know maybe just the next step, you know? And I don't know, yeah, when we're
Yes.
like we don't
Wow.
have to see it with our eyes. We can feel some of that within, like, but it takes that's practice too, right? Like, and a lot of that just starts by simply
Yeah.
just slowing down a little and seeing what's there, like orientating to what I feel. I mean, and it may not be great either. Like, there's a lot of times we go and it's like, we're angry or we're sad or we have grief that needs to be addressed, to know. But that's often the next path forward for us, right? Like, so it's just, yeah,
I just want to sit with that for a second. That is so true.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I've never put that thought together. That moment right there, like you just directed me. Thank you. I've never put that together of where that moment when we tune in to our own selves, there is a path forward.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not the path we want. It might be grief. It might be pausing, waiting for something or something else.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us we want to know how it's going to end. Like yesterday, I want to know what I'm going to look like, and I'm going to want to know how to do it right, and that's just not like we're all like masterpieces. We're being created all the time, so we to just be with what it is right now, just helps us like not need to see the end of the path, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just felt like roominess, like a spaciousness open up when you said that. It creates a spaciousness, takes away some of the pressure, and gives a sense of okayness even in the disorientation. Like I'm
Yeah.
safe here. I'm safe right now. I'm okay right now. And that can be really reorienting or
Because if you
reordering.
think of like children growing up, all the way through teenagehood, they
Mhm.
try a lot
Mhm.
of things on, they do. And it changes, and who they're
Mm.
going to be
Mhm.
later. Like, some of us are still figuring that out, and we're halfway gone. It's me, all in that. But like,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
it's an okay with just being with what's right here, trying something.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean we have to hold it forever. We can change our mind, but we get to
Mm.
experience it and know. That's the only way we know. So if we try it,
That's the only way we know. That's a mic drop moment. Really. I mean, without context, it sounds so obvious, but to remember that what we're talking about is the place of void. This is the developmental place where this hasn't happened before. We don't know what you just said.
and that practice of going inward just for a minute, taking a breath and feeling around, like, that is where
Mm.
a space we can learn to give to ourselves of being okay with what's there now.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so beautiful. So this feels like we just dropped in to really good space. And I don't want to leave it. I feel like I want to end here. Like, would you be willing to just sit with the listeners right now as a spiritual director and just lead through that very thing that you just talked through, like with
Sure.
prompts, like take a breath, and then when you're done with that, I'll do my outro, and then
Yeah.
this feels like a good place to me. Yeah. So remembering again that we're talking about the cost of connecting to ourselves, and so sometimes the cost isn't as much as we think it is. Actually, that's part of what I feel like is revealing itself in our conversation a little bit, that sometimes the cost isn't the feeling of cost is just the fear and disorientation. So it feels right to end with this practice of reorientation, reordering to ourselves. And thank you for being willing to lead us in that, Carla.
Yeah, I just am thinking like when you're in that space and you're looking outside of you and somebody said something or came against or it didn't go well. Your husband was like, wow, 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 like, and then you're arguing. So, like, from there,
Yep.
to just
Mm-hmm.
pause and to just, if you're comfortable
Mm-hmm.
closing eyes, close your eyes. I like to put my feet on the floor so I can feel myself grounded to the earth. Just, yeah, just if you want to take a deep breath in through your nose, and then exhale that through your mouth. And if it doesn't feel good to take deep breaths, just pay attention to your breath, whatever is a natural breath for you. You just want to feel that. Feel your inhale, feel your exhale. You just want to take a moment. Maybe if you could even think about a space that feels disorientating to you, whatever that might be. Just come up with that in your mind. Think about it for a moment. And as you're breathing, just start to scan your body. So maybe from your head, move downward, your shoulders, arms, down through your stomach. We were talking about the gut there, your legs, your toes. And as you're scanning your body, just notice, pay attention. If you have tightness somewhere, or if you can connect, as we talked about, that space within you, if you have practice finding your inner self. I usually go to my heart. I feel like that holds a lot of me, but it's different for all of us. But when I'm there in my heart, I feel warmth and just a peace when I'm with myself there. So just notice throughout your body if you have spaces that feel that way, that feel like goodness. You can picture that. I feel like a hug, maybe. Mainly, you just want to notice and pay attention to what's going on within you. If you feel tension Or maybe you have pain somewhere in your body and you want to send love to it. I picture often a little heart going to those places within me. But whatever would send love and goodness to yourself, think about that. And remember to keep breathing as you're going throughout your body, caring for it, connecting to the goodness of you. Sometimes we have words or thoughts that come to us here that are helpful, but often it's just a sense of being with ourselves that's most helpful. It's offering goodness and love to yourself right where you are today, knowing that doing this isn't going to change what's happening outward, but there's safety within us. We can connect to that no matter what's happening outside of us. I'll just invite you to take a couple deep more breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you feel ready, just come back.
Well, wow. Thank you for that leadership into the disoriented places and the places of darkness and pain and confusion, and leading us through this exercise of how to be kind to ourselves. And the image that came up for me right there was of like cocooned, but cocooned with all of my people. And there's this perfect peace there, you know. So when you talked about the heart, that's the image that came to me to bring kindness to myself, was this place of warmth and peace and collective wholeness. And so as we end today, just you know, this was a little taste from Carla Rousseau, a spiritual director. It was a very small taste of the riches that she offers as a spiritual director. So I would just say, if you're looking for someone to help be a guide through difficult valleys and journeys and places in your life, reach out to Carla. You can find her on our website at thebrokenandbeautiful.com. Go to our team and click on Carla Rousseau. So as we close out today, I'm just so grateful for you here, Carla, and for all of our listeners. And if you've made it this far, and I hope you have, because the conversation has been slow and deep and rich, and the process of connecting to ourselves that Carla just led us through is pure gold. So thank you again. And we'll see you next time on
Thank
Echoes and
you.
Edges, the Broken and Beautiful podcast.